Well, g'day everyone. Welcome back to Perkins Engineering YouTube. This is episode number 62. And apologies for not getting a few more videos to you in recent times. We've been pretty busy here in the workshop. The VL has been and gone, the Bob Jane Team Arts VL Chassis 10. So we finished the jobs on that car. We didn't get a chance to take it to the track, unfortunately, but it's gone back up north now, and we're back on the 1994 car. Before we get stuck into this episode and talking about where we're up to on this rocket, perkinsengineering.com.au. We've got a few of these Perkins Motorsport retro hats and polo shirts. A fair bit of other gear's been uploaded there in the last couple of days, so jump online and check that out. 94 car, so we've finished all the setup now. A couple of odd jobs finished off, so just put the windscreen wiper on. Got to mount the Motorola radio kit. I'm just tracking down a harness for the aerial to finish that job off. Then the fire extinguisher. These are all parts that are just for show, to be honest, to finish off the restoration period correct items so that it all looks pretty right. So close to having this one at the track, could basically take it to the track tomorrow, which is really exciting. Just to get on with this episode, what we're going to do, get a lot of people asking about the exhaust systems. It would be so much easier to explain if I had a few sprayed out here over the bench, but unfortunately I don't have anything surplus to requirements, so I'm going to do my best to do a quick video on the exhaust system in this particular car. So I'll start by popping up the bonnet and we'll get into it. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do, I've got my trusty verniers, and I'm going to try and do my best to explain this particular exhaust system on the Chevy engine. So we'll start with the headers, and get my trusty verniers in here and check the measurement on that. So 1'7" is what our header dimensions are, and we've got a few of our old drawings which are handwritten LP drawings, and typically the headers are quite tricky to actually draw. So you know, typically they're made on a jig and to a rough mud map, but you've obviously got to get clearances to a few different things. So what I'll do now is we'll raise the car up and we'll be able to see a little bit more of the exhaust system and what exactly I'm talking about. Okay, so this is probably one of the best spots to have a bit of a look around under here. So like I was talking about, we have a bit of a mud map drawing, but our original jig was actually a floor pan on a rotisserie. The floor pan had a dummy engine, dummy steering rack, and some other little incidentals that might come in the way when you're making it, and they had to be made on the job. So you can see here on the driver's side, you've got to make way for the steering rack and the pinion to go out and up, then up and connect up to the steering wheel. So typically our design is it splits over that, and then on this side you've got to get clearance to the starter motor, so they sort of end up on top of each other as opposed to split in, and that's quite often how you can determine sort of our exhaust system. And then in later times, you know, VT, VX, you had different widths to the chassis rails and things that you needed to work on. So we touched on the headers being 1'7". So this being the Chev system. Funnily enough, the Holden system was identical. So the only difference was the header pipes, and at the first join here, backwards to the muffler, identical exhaust system between Chev and Holden, and that was for a number of reasons. One was the cars sometimes had a Chev and Holden on similar days, or back and forth in the initial testing, and just to minimize redundancies in the exhaust system. So we go from, and again, the systems are known as tri-wise. So a tri-wise system is effectively where you've got two primaries come to one collector into a secondary, and then the other two meet up on that side back here, and then again you go two into the one there, and then back. So it's two sets of two into one, whereas a 4 into 1, that whole system would merge at the same point at the same time, all 4 into 1, where this effectively goes into 2 into 1, if that makes sense. That's known as a tri-wise system. So that goes to 2.5 inch in diameter here and here. And then that then goes to a Y collector here. And we put our vernier on it. I think it expands to 3.5 inch here. So basically those header pipes connect on a slip joint, and we run loose fast in here, because you've got to remember, when all this gets hot, it gets massive rate of expansion, so you can't have firm exhaust mounts. You need to have everything that's quite loose and enables it to move under that expansion under temperature. So that's sort of the headers. I'll swing the camera around and we'll have a look at the muffler system, check out the size of those tubes and some of the mounting back there. Okay, so we're back now to the section here where it's out to 3.5 inches. And one of the big things is to make sure that the length of everything is as close as you can get it side to side. So you'll notice, if I just sneak the camera up a little bit closer, this particular one takes a bit of a funky S-bend just to get the length similar to the other side. Bear in mind that it's always going to be shorter on the passenger side to the mufflers, because they exit out this side. So we get a little bit of length back through here to make that the even length to this side. So at this point, the same where they merge into the first muffler, the length on each side has been identical. So that's critical from the headers all the way back to get that length as close as you can. When I was a kid, I remember when they made the headers, they used to measure the volume in golf balls, how many golf balls you could get through, and then measure that and use the golf balls on each individual header. So I'm sure there's different ways to do it now as opposed to golf balls, but that's the common engineering principle, is to get those items as equal in length as possible when that comes to horsepower and tunability of the engine. So we come back here now to the first muffler. So everything forward of this point here is all mild steel, and from this point back is stainless steel. I'm sure in this day and age, there's maybe people with too much money that can make the whole system out of various materials. This is what we did in the early 90s. So come to the first muffler here, which then is on a 4-inch slip joint. So all the joins are on slip joints. I thought it was best to change the camera angle. So yeah, 4-inch slip joints here. First stainless steel muffler. Again, remembering that the exhaust mounting system, they're loose stainless cradle straps. We like to keep that whole system so it can loose as it gets hotter and expands. It's not rigid and then causing all cracking through the mufflers and bits and pieces. So often do we see exhaust systems that are like hard mounted to the car, and you can guarantee that something's going to crack at some point. So a lot of movement in there because a lot of temperature change and variation. I've got a simple 90-degree bend here to the second muffler, which has got a little bit of clearance in here. It gets a little bit of manufactured clearance to the trailing arm, and then the side muffler point exits out the side skirt. So we'll have a quick look at that. And there's our exhaust outlet. And like I said, that muffler system was the same from sort of VN right through to VR, VS, Commodore. It worked well for us and didn't need too many changes. So it's all pretty straightforward and very well made. And yeah, reinforced with a little extra stainless strap around the outside. And this is a bit that can get a little bit of wear and tear in the crash damage, but yeah, that's the part that served us quite well. So a lot of people ask about the crossover exhaust system. It's really hard to try and explain when we don't have a unit here, but you need to effectively have a lot of clearance under the engine to do it properly. You'll notice that this is what we call a rear steer car. So we're looking forward under the hoist and the steering rack's mounted to the rear. We were able to do it in 2008, primarily because the steering rack was actually mounted to the front and the steering arms went through the front. And then we had this extra clearance where the pipes could cross over kind of under the sump and give us that ability to actually have the crossover. And that's why we had such a funky exhaust note.
Listen to car 7. It sounds so different. Just have a listen to this. Ouch. Well, they've changed the exhaust system on the car. It runs a different arrangement into a different style of collector. And it sounds like an open wheel race car. Larry said to me yesterday, have you heard my car? And I said, no, not yet. I went up on the wall to have a listen, but it sounds fabulous.
Creates a lot more torque, but you lose a little bit of peak power. And yeah, it's a pretty tricky thing to do, especially in the current cars, because the rules are quite strict. But yeah, it was a pretty cool thing. And like I said, we get a lot of people asking about them. So I wish I had a pair to show you a little bit more, but unfortunately, we'll make do with what we've got. All right, well, that's it for that episode, number 62. Like I said, I wish I had a few more things like exhaust systems that I could really put on the bench and show you, but that's the best way I could explain it being in the car. And don't forget, on our website, we've got plenty of stuff. We're getting rid of a lot of stuff here in the workshop, surplus to requirements. Lots of people always ask about Dymag wheels. There's a mint, fully restored set of Perkins Dymag wheels for sale on the website. So if you're interested in those, be sure to check it out. perkinsengineering.com.au. Plenty of hats, merchandise available as well, and odds and ends we're finding that we just don't need anymore. So keep an eye on that. Thanks for the support. We'll be doing a bit more on Facebook, Instagram where we can. Hopefully we'll have this car out on track soon, and looking forward to bringing you that. So thanks again for the support, and we'll be back with another episode, hopefully sooner rather than later. Cheers.